Hello, hello. My name is Ethan Riggs, and I just want to thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of In My Life with Ethan Riggs. This is just going to be something that's a little bit of a passion project of mine. I assume it's going to be mostly just family and friends that are listening to this. So I'm really going to be, speaking mostly to them. But hey, if you are somebody that might know me, from filling in on any of the shows on 103.7 The Buzz, that would really be the only spot I think you would even know me from. But this is going to be a variety podcast, and I have time here this summer in between my college semesters to record a podcast. I'm thinking maybe once a week I'll sit down with a guest. It could be a local musician, a local comedian, somebody that I may know up here at the radio station. I think it's going to be a podcast that really is easy listening for most people. We might touch on politics if we have a political guest on, but I don't really see that being like a focal point, of what we discuss week to week on the podcast. There's going to be a lot of different kinds of guests. I already have a lot of stuff in mind for who I want to have on. This is going to be a podcast about many different things, and a lot of that will probably have to do with the guest that is on for that particular episode. But hey, thank you again for tuning in to the very first episode, and to give an introduction to my first guest here, Jeff Allen. Before we actually have him on, because it's kind of funny to like sit there and do an intro for a guy who's just sitting right there silently waiting. That I think that makes him, anybody would feel kind of awkward, in that situation. So, he is an award-winning radio host. He's been a radio host in the Central Arkansas area for close to 30 years now. He started with, I believe it was, he was just a producer for some talk radio, and then he became a disc jockey at Magic 105 when that was a station back in the day. Any of our listeners, from back in the 90s, 2000s would know about Magic 105. And now he's been here at The Point for many years. I think he's over 20 years now, a veteran here. I think it was the early 2000s. We'll probably get into that during the podcast whenever we sit down with him. But this guy just won Arkansas Magazine Radio Personality of the Year. And I'm just so grateful that he was willing to sit down. I met him a few years ago, and even, back then I was like 20, and he would still just kind of hang out with you and give you the time of day, which he totally doesn't have to do that. So just super cool of him to agree to do the pod. Obviously, he's a great first guest to have. Anytime you can book somebody like Jeff, that is, so comfortable on the microphone. It always makes, especially a first episode, a little easier when, you guys might be able to tell my inexperience already on the air. I'm not exactly the most smooth talker, But anyway, I'm done rambling. Thank you for listening to the pod, and I hope you enjoy, and we'll be back with my guest, Jeff Allen, in just 1 minute. Jeff Allen, thank you so much for hopping on the pod today.
Thank you for asking.
Oh, dude, of course. I mean, you are you're an ideal first guest for a podcast. I mean, dude, whether you want to talk about it or not, man, you are an award-winning radio host. And that's not just, awards from years past. I mean, you just won the Arkansas Magazine Radio Personality of the Year. Not to put you on the spot or anything,
no,
but
AY Magazine being a statewide magazine, it's well respected, and it's a very good publication, and it was an honor to get that.
Of course. So who actually presented it to you?
Heather Baker.
And this was on air?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you know Heather before that?
I've known Heather for a long, long time. She's been in media for several years.
Well, it's not your first time winning the award, I would imagine.
It is the first time.
It is the first time?
Yes.
Wow. So who's all in this lineage, by the way? Is there anybody that you really looked up to, like anybody from Magic 105 winning it back in the
day? Definitely. I go back to Paul Eels, who was the voice of the Razorbacks for so many years, and he and I had a great working relationship from the very start. My very first days with Magic 105. I was doing a weekend remote at a boat show at the State House Convention Center. I'll never forget what Paul Eels did. I was a nobody. I was the part-time guy. I just started, and I'm down there, and he comes up to me. He knew my name, and he said, Jeff, how do you like working for Magic 105? and that was the first time I'd met Paul Eels, and he was more interested in me than I was in him, and that left an impression on me.
Wow.
Left a big impression.
He probably was on the road all the time listening to you guys, honestly.
Probably was.
Yeah, I mean, those guys back in the day, they had no other options. You guys were it, you know?
That and having Tom Wood as a program director was, there couldn't have been a better start.
For sure.
He's the gold standard in program directors.
Now, to go back to your origin, you were, just like basically what I'm doing right now, you were a producer for talk shows.
Actually, my first start was on air in Little Rock, and then I migrated over to producing a talk show.
Okay, now what was that first station, and what year was this? How old would you have been? I want to hear it all.
My first station, I actually started on air in Russellville, in my hometown, and I was doing middays on a country station, and I got a part-time gig at Magic 105, just like weekends, filling in, stuff like that.
Which back then, I mean, that's the big fish.
It was the big
pond.
fish.
Yeah.
So, and that was like 1991.
What a step up that was, especially in 91.
Yeah.
So what were you guys spinning back then?
We were spinning, of course, the classic, the Van Halen, Blue Oyster Cult, Leonard Skinner, Bob Seger, CCR,
so
all
you
that
were
stuff.
Contemporary.
But we were also playing, Creed when it came out. We were playing, all that stuff when it came out.
Yeah. So you guys were really up to date with what was going on. You guys were a modern rock station.
We were the only rock station. There was no modern or classic. We were the rock station.
Oh, my goodness.
And so we played Tracy Chapman's Fast Car when it came out. We played Alanis Morissette. We played a lot of things we probably shouldn't have been playing.
when Paul got tired of driving around listening to jazz, he was like, thank goodness Jeff Allen's here to play something. Even Creed's better than, I don't know, whatever else was going on. But, okay, so who reaches out to you? Or do you just go to interview at Magic 105, or does somebody reach out to you? What was that process?
I actually have to give some credit to Peter Reed, who published the Night Flying newspaper for decades in Arkansas. He was friends with Tom Wood, and I knew Peter because I'd been DJing in some clubs, and so I got to know Peter in the nightclub world. And Peter went to Tom Wood and said, hey, you need to talk to this guy. And so I've got to give Peter a lot of credit for getting my foot in the door.
So how about that? You were DJing nightclubs?
Yeah.
And he was just out and about.
Well, he used to cover nightclubs. That was part of Night Flying's. He would go out to clubs and what's happening.
And he would
this
work,
weekend.
quote unquote.
And I'm working in the DJ booth, so he would come up and talk to me. And
wow. And so you just built a rapport that way. And,
yes.
And he just had the in with Magic 105. And who were you producing for? Or were you hosting immediately on weekends?
I was hosting. I was doing my own show.
Okay,
yes.
Good deal.
And the reason I went from that and took a step back to producing, so to speak, when Magic Broadcasting, which is where I started, got bought by U.S. Radio, and then U.S. Radio got swallowed up by Clear Channel, which became iHeartMedia.
Yeah.
They had a big house cleaning, and one day I got unceremoniously fired.
Wow.
The day after my birthday because they'd replaced...
That's iHeart.
Exactly.
That's iHeartRadio. We can go deep on this one.
Yes, we can. Just about everybody in this building worked at iHeart at one point or another. And
true.
So I took about a year and a half off radio. I was so bitter and disenfranchised after the way that unceremonious exit. I was like, I'm done. Now,
what year was that you were fired? What birthday was this?
It was at like 2000.
2000, and you turned...
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't count those anymore.
Well, it's probably hard to, celebrate with that kind of, seriously, because back in the day, that was, I don't know, that, and it's sad to hear that because I sort of, in my mind, before I heard you say that, I thought of the iHeartRadio cleaning house stuff as a more recent activity.
It's been going on for decades.
Yeah, we're talking 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And they were doing this then, so...
Yeah.
So they were always just cutting corners, man.
They were. And as luck would have it, a good friend of mine was getting ready to open a 17,000 square foot nightclub in Little Rock called Nightlife Rocks.
How about that?
That was going to have a dance floor live music combination. They hired me because I had such a good relationship with them to be the entertainment director.
Yeah.
And so...
Wow, so you were just planning parties.
Well, I was booking. I booked Evanescence for a New Year's Eve gig.
Wow. What was this before the big hit, or was this when they
right
were
before the big hit?
Wow.
Yeah, because it was like six 6 or 8 months before the Daredevil movie came out and Bring Me to Life went nuclear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were still playing Vinos in backyard parties, and we booked them for a New Year's gig.
Vinos, that's a great venue.
Yeah, it is.
Right there. Wow.
I booked a big show with Oakenfold, if you're familiar with DJs.
Not really, but tell me, please.
We had 2,000 people there for Oakenfold.
Okay. So you guys were packing the house.
We were packing the house, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And
what was the money? Decent?
The money was good, yeah.
Okay.
And it was money,
What a time, man.
Yeah, it was great. We were rocking and rolling. And then one night, and it's funny how this happened, we had an amateur boxing event. And the station you're working for, The Buzz, was sponsoring this event. So I'm in the club. David Basil comes over to me and it's like, "Hey, I hadn't seen you in a while. How you doing?"
Wow.
And, man, it's good to see you. And then like Monday, I come into the office. We're having our managers meeting, and the wife of the manager that was our secretary, our office manager, she's like, "David Basil called and left a message for you to call him." And she kind of looked at me like, "I don't know what he wants, but he left his number." And so
when Baz leaves his number, you give him a call.
Yeah, so I called Baz, and he said, "Well, our morning show is looking for a producer, and I didn't know if you wanted to get back into it or, if you want to have lunch with us and, talk about this."
This was the show with Tommy, right?
No, this was way before Tommy. Tommy was still on Magic 105.
Okay.
Yeah, this was David Basil and Stanley Knox.
Were you and Tommy talking much at that time at Magic 105?
Oh, I saw Tommy every day.
I was going to say, yeah, you must have seen him all the time.
Yeah, when I started, my first full-time gig with 105 was doing overnights.
Yeah.
Midnight to 6.
What a different time that is.
That's back when we had
Overnights.
live people 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So every morning at 6, Tommy was the first person I saw 5 days a week.
Wow. Oh, dude, so he would see you after you were in there for
and he's
what,
coming
8
in
hours?
fresh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if fresh is the word, but
Tommy back then.
Tommy was a professional, though, man.
Back then, radio was a lot different. We could get away with a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a lot more fun.
Well, now, when I started 4 years ago, I very first time I got to come up here to the building was end of 2022, and we didn't even have the cameras in the studios yet. So even just in the time of the last 3 to 4 years, there's already been there's just so many differences here at the station that are great.
Yeah.
We, talking about iHeartRadio, obviously our bosses are Signal Media here at 103.7, 106.7, and 94.1, and how fortunate we are because seriously,
That's an understatement.
They're willing to spend money to make money, and we certainly make it.
If you've never worked in the corporate radio world, you don't know the value of having the person running the company downstairs in the corner office that you can walk into that office and get an answer this fast. It may not be the answer you want, but you can get an answer.
Well, and that's to this day. That's post-COVID.
Yeah.
So it's even rarer than it is now. We were even talking about this a little bit before the show, but to win an award like Radio Personality of the Year in 2026,
it's a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal because you are one of few now, when there used to be millions.
And
that's no exaggeration, millions across the nation.
I know so many talented people in the radio world that are out of work now because of these corporate structures where, just like the iHeart station here in town, there's only one person in that building.
Yeah.
And they've got a rock station over there that every voice on their station is somewhere in Minnesota, or there's nobody local on that station anymore. It's all there's somebody up there doing like 6 or 7 stations, and this Little Rock station is one of them.
It's syndicated music.
It is.
Which, even Howard Stern had to fight to get a syndicated talk show.
Yeah, I know.
Now it's like, oh, well, that's what we would do. We would just syndicate it. So, again, you're just 100% right, because you can listen to some of the country stations, right? For instance, they're probably the most common example I can think of, where if you're going anywhere out of the state, well, you can hear a lot of the same stations that you hear locally with the same hosts.
Yeah.
And you can hear it, from here to Tennessee to Georgia to South Carolina. We're talking 14 hours away.
I know.
That's sad.
And the thing about it is, the reverse of that is the reason we're doing so well right now, because we are actually tangible. We can be out in the community. People can come up and meet us. We can be live and present at concerts and events. And
well, you guys, there's a reason that look, I love Magic 105. Of course, I hear the stories now. I was a kid then, but it's just like, this is the haven now.
It is.
Really.
It
And there's
really
a
is.
reason that you're here, and there's a reason that Mike Kennedy's here, and there's a reason that Rick Steele's here in the morning.
You're right.
And there's also a reason that, and again, I'm not trying to put you in a weird spot here, but you guys are the #1 rated station locally. And that's, you know, it's just nothing against the classic rock stuff, but you guys hit demographics that classic rock does not usually hit.
That's funny because people that, are listening to this that don't understand ratings, there's age brackets for ratings. And the 12 plus bracket is the low end bracket, and that's usually the pop stations, It's never the rock stations. And we've been winning 12 plus.
I mean,
which is just unheard of with a rock station.
Unheard of. Well, you know why? It's because you guys are cool. You guys are local. You guys are out and about doing shows. You guys are at car dealerships. You guys are at restaurants.
Yeah.
You guys are everywhere.
And the moniker classic rock is a little misleading because we're playing Green Day, we're playing Soundgarden, we're playing, and some people are like, how is that classic rock? Well, it's 30 years old now.
Well,
so
I wanted to bring up something to you just about that genre in general, because again, you've been spinning the records for long enough now. You saw when Soundgarden was contemporary, and no, and I mean that in a great way, because I almost wonder, like, that is contemporary rock in a sense that it was the last of its kind.
It was, and I mean,
so it is almost contemporary rock, because what else is being put out there now?
That's right.
That is like that.
And
that is the most recent rock.
I'm dating myself by saying this, but I remember playing the singles off 10 when Pearl Jam released that debut album. They were new songs.
Yeah, dude, it was like the first time people heard Black.
Yeah,
and they were crying in their car.
Even Flow and Jeremy, and I played those.
What a great album!
There were new singles on the radio.
Yeah, and that's another thing, is that you guys were part of making. People listen to you guys, and you may have not been syndicated, but it's like you're part of the reason why people think about those bands. In a way,
yeah.
Not necessarily you, but what you were a part of, being a disc jockey. You know what I mean? You were a part of the nation's playlist.
Yeah, we were,
and that's exactly like what it was. It was a playlist for the nation, and to just be doing as well as you guys are now. I mean, again, I'm not, it's just amazing, and I can't get enough of it. And I want to hear more about your come up and stuff like that. But modern day Jeff is probably doing better than ever.
I feel like I am.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, I've known you for 3 to 4 years now.
Yeah.
I met you when I was like 20, and dude, you're doing great. Like, I remember you told me one time about your car. Well, how many miles is that car at now that you're driving around? I still remember this conversation because I am so amazed by this.
I just hit 540,000.
On what? It was
it's a Chevrolet Silverado. And I passed 500,000 miles, and now I'm 40,000 miles past 500,000.
Well, and that's the thing, is that, you're in radio, but you're traveling around, right? So these vehicles are getting a lot of mileage.
It's a lot of road mileage.
But that's awesome.
And people are like, what's your secret? I do regular maintenance. I change the oil.
And you probably had to change a radiator once or something.
No, I had to put one transmission in.
That's it.
Other than that, that's the only major part I've had to replace.
Well, a transmission is a big part, but obviously, I mean, still, that's so. How long have you been driving that Silverado?
I think I got it in 2016.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
10 years.
Wow. And how many miles did it have then? Do you remember?
25,000 when I picked it up off the lot.
So this is the life of a radio guy right here. You have in 10 years.
No, this is not. This is the life of someone who travels and goes to shows and goes like.
True.
That truck has been to San Antonio for a Black Sabbath concert. That truck has been to Pittsburgh for a football game. That truck has been to New Orleans for a Rush concert.
Yeah.
I mean, that truck has been across the country.
Neat. How neat, though.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this life affords you, And again, how rare. And we were talking earlier about how there's like one guy in a building at these other stations.
That's the way it is now.
That are iHeartRadio. We have a guy doing the zone now, Moose.
Yeah.
Who used to work for a competitor. And let's just be honest, anytime I've talked to him about it, like, there is nobody in the building anymore. And when I was a kid, there was a whole newsroom outside of that studio that was just feeding them live stories because it was a little bit of a tabloid show sometimes,
Yeah.
and they would discuss things that it was pop culture type. And now it's just those two people in the building.
Yeah.
And whenever they leave, nobody's coming in the studio after them because it's a syndicated show after them nationally.
And that's the standard business model for a lot of radio stations now.
If you had to guess, I mean, could you count on one hand, like how many stations that operate the way we do here in Central Arkansas?
Probably.
Is there even 5?
Well, I can't say that fairly because there are some local stations that are getting back to their roots. I know one station group in Russellville just got bought recently, and the owner's focus is more live, local, direct. And so those smaller stations are staffed. And so I can't really say, Central Arkansas, because there are some. But as far as this size market, yeah. I could count on one hand. There's 3 in this building, and I can't go any further than
exactly.
that.
That's the funny part. Yeah, as 3 of us are all here. But that's maybe part of why we do so well is that we all work together. I mean, you have 3 powerhouses in the same building. Let's just be honest. I mean,
you do.
We're in a control room back here recording this podcast, and the quality is pretty good.
It is. And we've got great equipment to work.
Great equipment. I've got a soundboard here to my left. We've got Adobe Recording. We're looking at the sound waves right now. This is awesome. And I have to be honest, like I love being a young guy in radio as well because I loved radio growing up. And then when I was a teenager, you had the streaming apps became it was just the technology, just advanced with music. And to be in this business now, it's really cool, because when I see a station like this, I do wonder if radio will last my lifetime.
Probably.
I don't see why it would go away if you guys are really, you guys generate a lot of profit. I mean,
well, it's not just that.
It's good business.
There are a few differences. I understand streaming. I understand satellite radio. I understand all these options people have now.
Yeah.
And it's every new thing that comes along is going to be, quote, the death of radio.
You're absolutely right about satellite radio. That was like 25 years
ago.
And it didn't kill you guys.
I've seen the next thing that's going to kill this business come along too many times, and it's the little differences. Case in point, the tornado that hit Little Rock 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The March tornado. That came through at like 2:05 in the afternoon.
You were here.
I was on the air.
Wow. And that was down the street from us, by the way. For people who don't know, you drive by those gas stations that were in the videos.
Yeah, I looked out the back window and watched it cross the river. I was on the air. And I had Todd Jacobian call in and do a breakdown of what time it was going to hit which neighborhoods, the projected path, and Todd Jacobian giving like minute by minute updates, and he was within 2 minutes of when it was going to cross the river into North Little Rock. He was that close on the projection.
That could have saved a life, man.
It could have, and the fact that we're able to do that sets us apart from these robot stations. They can't break in at a moment's notice and give live tornado coverage.
They're not local.
No. And then that next weekend, we held a tornado benefit down at Sticky's. We were able to do that because we're live. We got these bands to come donate their time. I got a bunch of my musician friends to donate auction items. I had like a signed guitar from Styx, and I had some cool stuff like that for the auction. We were able to get that stuff together because of who we are. Yeah. And those other stations can't do that.
You guys, and that's another point is that, dude, a signed guitar from Styx, that's amazing. Again, this year, that's the thing is that we are pushing through to the other side. We're like the Doors, we're breaking on through, Okay, so I'm curious now to get back to your journey a little bit.
Okay.
So you were at Magic 105, you left.
I was at Magic for about 10 years.
So you would have been there until...
It was February of 2001 when I got let go.
Okay, and so you were there. So you were there from 91 to 2001, and then you go to produce Talk Show.
After a year in the club.
After a year in the club.
A year and a half.
That's true. Yeah, so you were just out of the biz, but you were still DJing.
I was completely out of the business, and I was DJing, like playing music on a dance floor.
That was probably good for you, though, just to broaden your DJ horizons.
I'd already done that. I mean, I'd already DJ'd in a club.
Sure.
So it was kind of like, well,
you got back to your roots.
I'll go back to this,
How cool was that? You got to go back to your roots for a year, after 10 years in the biz. And you were probably a big enough name locally at that time where they were like, we want Jeff Allen.
No, I just, the people that opened the club I'd worked with before in other clubs, and it was just an opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
I guess
a job, steady work. So you go to produce this talk show, and is this Baz's show?
Stanley Knox was actually the lead. Baz was the number 2.
Okay, he was considered 2.
And
how about that? A time when Baz was number 2, huh?
I went through a rotation of morning hosts on that show. Stanley was first, and Stanley and I butted heads. He was a headstrong person who'd come out of Arizona, very opinionated, and sometimes he'd have ideas to do things that I knew wouldn't work here in the South, because you have to understand your geography.
100%.
Like something that works in Maricopa County, Arizona, might not work in Central Arkansas. And every time I questioned something he suggested, he'd get mad.
Yeah.
And
because you were the producer.
I'm the producer, and I shouldn't have an opinion.
Well, that's silly because that's the producer's job. In a sense,
it is, and he didn't like it because I already had some name recognition. So sometimes
you had been on Magic 105.
Well, I know, but sometimes
years.
the listeners would, say something to me and leave him out of the conversation, and that really bothered him.
How about that? Imagine calling into a radio show and you want to talk to the producer.
Yeah.
What would they ask you? Just like
it random stuff.
Cool,
Yeah.
dude. That is. And you did that for how long?
About 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
And then it's funny how it all worked out, because the guy who was on the Point Morning Show at the time was getting ready to leave. He was from like Arizona, and he was going back home. And he pulled me aside in the hall one day. He said, "Hey, can you bring your truck over after you get off work today? I need to move a couch to my storage unit. I need a truck." I said, "Sure." So get over to his storage unit. He gets me away from the station. And he's like, "Hey, I wanted to get you away from the station and let you know. I know Mike has offered you a spot on the Point.
Yeah.
Stanley offered me your job. He's trying to replace you. So it'd be in your best interest to accept Mike's offer."
What?
Yeah. That's the way Stanley was, though. He was going around trying to find somebody to hire to get rid of me.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Mike,
so this is, and you and Baz now work in the same building for the
Baz
listeners.
and I never had a problem.
Well, and that's the funny thing is that you and Baz probably look at each other now and just like wipe your forehead,
Nah, it's water under the bridge.
Well, yeah, no.
No, I mean, we don't even look back at that time.
Really, yeah.
It's more like
I'm sorry to remind you of
No.
When
we look back at that time, it's more of an eye roll thing.
Yeah. You're just
the
like,
way it
how
ended
silly.
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened to Stanley Knox?
I don't want to get.
Because I don't know that name.
I don't want to get into details too much.
But on-air stuff?
No, it wasn't the on-air stuff. It was his idea of bits and gimmicks.
Yeah. So the ratings probably tanked.
The ratings never were good on that morning show.
Yeah.
We
and this is back when you're competing with 10 other shows.
Well, the Tommy was still on the air at Magic, and we had established morning shows.
Oh yeah.
I think the Buzz morning show at that time was like 7th or 8th place.
Yeah.
It was barely in the top 10.
Man, different times.
The guy that ended up replacing me, ultimately ended up replacing me on Good Friday, he had him go to a Home Depot and buy some lumber and put on a crown of thorns and drag a cross down Cantrell. You can't do that in the Bible Belt, man.
What did Stanley Knox? He thought he was Vince McMahon.
He thought it was funny,
Yeah.
And then,
golly,
there was a.
I'm not even like ultra religious, but that's kind of silly.
I'll just say that there was an event that he sent his other two, and David had left. David left the station for a bit.
David's such a good dude too, man.
David's
you have to do
dude.
Something to have David have a problem with you.
He had gone off to do something else, so they brought in another host with Stanley. And Stanley had the other host and the guy that replaced me go to an event and do something that crossed a legal line. And that's all I'll say because
well, statute of limitations, but no pressure, no pressure.
I'll tell you off the air.
Well, no.
But anyway, he was unceremoniously fired because of that.
That was a dishonorable discharge.
It was a black eye on the station for sure.
And that was here at the Buzz.
Yeah.
In this building.
In this building.
Wow.
And I'm sitting across the hall going,
dude, you're just unscathed, man.
I would not have been dumb enough to do what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I knew better, but I could sit back and laugh knowing I got out of that snake pit before it happened.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What a, that sounds like a train accident, you know?
Yeah,
just
it was.
Sounds like it was ugly. Okay. So you got another offer from somewhere else. And that was 94.1 The Point. Now,
That's
they were
right.
not in this building at
They
that
were.
time. Oh, they were in this
Yeah.
building. So even at that time, you just moved down the
I
hall.
moved 12 or 15 feet down the hall.
Oh, my gosh. And so when Stanley gets fired, you're just in there like,
Well,
like
the
what?
funny thing was when I told Mike I would take the job, of course, the news went out in the hallways that I'm going over to The Point. Stanley comes back to me begging, hey, I'll get you more money. I'll get you this. I'll get you that. If you just,
Oh, man.
And he's begging me to stay, and I'm smiling, just looking at him thinking, if you knew what I know, you wouldn't be doing this because you're making yourself look really dumb right now. I just sat and smiled.
Because you knew the whole time he
I
was
knew the
trying
whole
to get
story.
rid of
You were trying to get rid of me, and I got a better job, and now you're scrambling because I'm leaving you high and dry.
That guy really did you a solid pulling
really
you away
did.
from this because he didn't have to do that. I mean,
He's a good guy, though.
good. Well, but that was just the business at that
It
time.
was.
Like you say, it was a cutthroat time. Stanley wasn't the only cutthroat guy up here at the station, I'm sure.
No.
Not that we have to get into it, but I'm
No.
just saying, that was not a rare attitude.
It
maybe.
wasn't. But, David came back, and everything's right in the world. And
Yeah. And I mean, that Morning Mayhem show is legendary.
it is.
And so is the him and the producer. I'm sorry, I'm never up before 10 a.m. y'all, but I see the YouTube views, and I sometimes do like to wake up with the Morning Mayhem YouTube stream because again, this is a new thing where they just upload all this stuff digitally, and I mean they're getting consistently 500 to 1,000 views Monday through Friday. I mean. That's awesome. I mean, he's obviously an Arkansas Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's a legend.
He's not even just a sports Hall of Famer. He's an Arkansas Hall of Famer, isn't he? I mean,
I would say so. Yeah.
he is.
As far as
an icon.
just a goodwill ambassador for the state. He's done so much, and
he
I
was
couldn't
number
speak highly
2.
enough of David. He's a great guy.
And they had him number 2 to Stanley friggin' Knox.
Well, in David's defense, David back then was still doing some TV stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He was wearing many hats, so he was kind of helping. He wasn't really a full-time.
So he was also number 2 in terms of maybe putting the show together.
Yeah,
behind
he
the
was
stage.
brought in to assist what they had.
Yeah, people don't realize, especially back then, I'm sure it was way more common to like sit down and have meetings, and show prep was just way more complicated.
Yeah.
Not just because of the technology, but because of the times, everything was 24/7 all the time, and we were the only option.
It's true.
So,
and what's even crazier, I've been in this business long enough. I got to see how it really used to be.
Yeah.
And
91 is your first year in radio, man.
Thank God we didn't have cameras in the studio back then. We'd be in jail.
Yeah, I mean, oh, man.
The things we could do back then is...
hey, statute of limitations.
When you tell people this used to happen, and they're like, they don't believe you.
Yeah, they're like, that was on FM radio?
They don't believe you.
Yeah.
Before Janet Jackson's Super Bowl wardrobe malfunction, before certain points in history, we had a lot more freedom with radio.
You credit that as a
that
moment.
that was a turning point for sure. That's not the one turning point. It was a turning point.
Gotcha.
There was
that was
big,
2006. I'm sorry not to interrupt, but that was about 20 years ago.
Yeah, there was a big lawsuit over payola, plugola, like getting paid to play hit records. That really stomped on one of the most fun parts of the business we had.
Yeah.
Back, when I started, the record labels had unlimited budgets.
Yeah.
And they would say,
dude.
hey, we got this new record coming out. We'll give you like 20 copies of the CD to do a win it before you can buy it weekend, and we'll do a flyaway trip to Vegas to this artist show, and they'll give us all this promotional stuff if we'll just help them promote the record by spinning it. And we would do it.
Yeah.
And so we'd get tour jackets and box sets and concert bus trips and just all this fun stuff that we were a part of.
Yeah. And all somebody had to do was listen and call in.
And all we had to do was let the record company know that we're spinning this record, helping them sell a few more copies.
And money didn't have to really exchange hands.
No, it was they would give us things and that would help us, and we would help them, sell records.
Wow.
And it was a great time.
Yeah. You must have gotten doing that specifically. You probably got to know so many groups right before they were making
I did.
it. I mean, can you think of any off the top of your head, like anybody that reached out in particular? Because here's the thing, man, you saw all of nu metal. You saw my style a little bit, because I enjoy more of the late '90s stuff. But you were spinning those records, man. That's the thing.
Not just nu metal. I mean, like when Kenny Wayne Shepherd first came out, he came up and played in the studio. I sat there and watched him play Blue on Black on an acoustic guitar live in the Magic Studio. And
you guys had the production for it.
Yeah.
It was like Howard Stern.
We
could stand
recorded
there
it.
and play a song, and it was mixed.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember when Zakk Wylde released the acoustic album Book of Shadows.
We could still do this stuff.
We could. But the world's a little different now. But when Zakk released the Book of Shadows, this was in between Ozzy and Black Label Society. He played a show at Juanita's, and he came up to the station and hung out in the studio with me and took phone calls for an hour.
And probably got a few negative
it
ones.
was hilarious. He had the biggest time, and people couldn't believe they were actually talking to Zakk Wylde. It's like,
well, and you're not only getting these rock guys on, you're getting comedians on.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting... We've talked off air about Ralphie May. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He, especially as a guy who talked a lot about Arkansas in his stand-up comedy.
He was from Clarksville.
From Clarksville, which... It's funny, like people, he would be in L.A. talking about Clarksville, Arkansas.
I know.
He brought it everywhere he went,
There was nothing fake about him.
No, and I knew him from YouTube and stuff like that, and then I see you one day, we're friends on Facebook, and you post when you have a picture with somebody, and it's a birthday or something.
But T.J. Miller
today was another guy. I mean, that's a guy who was in movies when I was growing up, and I'm just seeing my friend is hanging out with him, It's like, hey, me and T.J. Miller basically know each other. No, I'm kidding. No.
He did offer me a bag of weed.
Yeah, and you did.
We were in Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, you didn't have to toss it out.
Well, no, we were in Oklahoma, and he said that one guy that came to the show gave him like a 3-pound bag of weed. He said, I can't take it on the plane when I leave.
Yeah, he was like, this guy's trying to get me arrested,
Yeah, he's
Jeff.
like, I can't take this on the plane.
But he knows what happens if he sends it with you. You're going to be driving around with
He
it.
didn't care.
Yeah, TJ's like, do you want to get arrested? So do you still get to have these people in studio? I mean, when
they're available.
Yeah.
A lot of that
changed.
A lot of that changed when COVID happened, and it's getting better. It's getting back to where it should be. But for from 2020, even 22, 23, a lot of bands were still doing the bubble tour thing, and it was easier. It's like, just say we're doing a bubble tour. We don't have to mess with any kind of fan meet and greet interaction stuff. And that 2020 model, that like when they finally went back out on the road after
they were touring again.
They were touring, and they were doing the bubble where no contact with anybody outside the band.
Yeah.
And they kind of just kept that model for much longer than they absolutely had to.
They probably saw the money didn't, change drastically enough for them to justify the time that they were spending. Because that is the thing where, you talk about, okay, a guy with a lot of money that for a record label calls you. Well, that guy had to be making a lot of money. I bet when he was calling you, he had shades on, and he had a nice suit and a fedora and long hair, And he was like, "Hey, man, I need you to spin this record, man." And that was a different time where you had 10 of those guys working, and they were, because here's the thing, he got off the phone with you and called 20 stations. Probably that was what he did that day.
Yeah,
was just called people.
The most fun part, or one of the most fun parts of that era, I guess, and this is just storytelling mode now.
Oh, go ahead.
When bands came to town to play, their record label, their A&R guy, would come with them.
A&R means?
I don't know.
It's a fancy term, they would
it's a
throw
record
around.
label industry term. I never really figured out what A&R stood for.
It could stand for something really
artist
awful.
and representation, I think. Or
really?
Something like that. But anyway, they would come to town with the band, and they would take the radio station program director and music director out to dinner on the record company's tab. And since our music
Kissing
director
your
at
ass.
Magic didn't always show up, I was the second. So I got to go to a lot of these dinners.
Yeah.
And they'd buy us a steak dinner at Doe's.
Just to spin a record.
And they'd pull out the Warner Brothers Gold Card, and it's like everything's paid for.
Wow. And these were suits from big cities.
Well,
These were guys from Vegas.
They weren't suits. That was the thing. They were normal guys, and I'm still friends with a lot of them.
Huh.
And
what happened to those guys? What are those guys doing now?
Okay, well, our Warner Brothers rep is living in Nashville. I still talk to him.
Which is huge for radio, by the way.
He's kind of retired now, just enjoying life.
Good for him.
Our MCA rep he's still in Texas. He's got like a home security firm. He does alarm installs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So transition to a more blue-collar life.
Our Capricorn rep out of Amarillo, Texas, is still in radio, doing a radio show in Amarillo.
Those are all pretty happy endings, man.
Yeah, I mean, the other one's raising grandkids. Our Virgin Records rep is raising grandkids. I'm still friends with all those guys. But they used to come to town, and it was so cool because I could call Dale and go, hey, I see that this band is playing in Tulsa. Hey, you want to come out? And they'd hook you up with really good tickets if you wanted to travel to Tulsa to see that band.
Wow. So you guys, even if they were just in the bordering states.
Because they were friends.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that Arkansas, we're right here in the middle of all these states that have major, Oklahoma has major sports teams and stuff like that. They have big venues that these major artists will be performing at. So even back then, right, even guys that were big in the 70s,
it was
you
fun.
might have been able to get access to. Maybe Pink Floyd you were able to get access to.
We had a bus trip to see Pink Floyd in Dallas thanks to our record label.
Wow, paid for a bus trip?
We took a busload of people to Dallas. That they got us the tickets and everything else to see Pink Floyd at Texas Stadium. We did
I would have complained and asked for a limo.
Two buses. We did a Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
2 bus trips to Dallas for Pink Floyd.
I'm going to be honest. Maybe I would have thrown my weight around a little. I don't know. Maybe I would have been like, give me a limo, man. I want to,
We did a limo to...
oh, so that happened.
It was actually here at the Buzz. We did a limo to Dangerfield, Texas.
Yeah.
If you've gone on I-30 to Dallas, you've passed the Dangerfield exit.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's like an hour out of Texarkana, maybe.
Okay.
Dangerfield, Texas is a very small town. It's about the size of Ward, Arkansas. It's tiny.
And you guys are showing up in a limo.
They have a one-screen movie theater downtown in the old square. And Rodney Dangerfield's new movie, Meet Wally Sparks, was having its premiere in Dangerfield, Texas. And we took a limo down there to go to the movie premiere, and that's how I got the picture with Rodney Dangerfield.
I was thinking Dangerfield, Texas. I was like, I just had a little feeling where that might have been going. Rodney might be my favorite comedian of all time, man. Like, not just because you brought him up. I swear, dude, he is funny no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. Because, I don't know. It's almost a thing in comedy now where you're not the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And the thing that made a lot of those guys cool back in the day, like Dice was the first one that stopped doing this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was the cool guy. Comedy used to be a bunch of nerds that made fun of cool guys.
Oh, I know.
And Dangerfield, he was a guy that worked a blue-collar life for a long time.
Yeah.
He was a comedian when he was younger, tried to make it, didn't have a lot of success, and it probably turned him a little sour in life, as that would do. But then he got to achieve it later in life when he was like in his 50s, 60s. He was on... was it Ed Sullivan he was on? And that was a big moment for him. And that was in like the late 60s, early 70s. And then I know him as the Carson guy. That was all my first like exposure to him, was on Carson. But he was alive when I was a kid. I could have seen him on The Tonight Show. I mean, it's odd. It must be odd to live such a normal life for 40, 45 years. And then all of a sudden you're on, because back then, dude, Carson, I mean.
That was the pinnacle.
Yeah, you were at the top. You were at Mount Everest, and he probably was kind of looking around. And it's like, well, where do I go from here? And then he starts the club, Dangerfields, and that's how we know so many guys. Seinfeld comes up through there. And even guys like Bob Odenkirk were getting exposure there when they were really young. There's a wide variety of names
I
that
remember
he put on.
When Larry the Cable Guy first came to Little Rock, there was a place down on Markham called the Funny Bone. It was right down by the big hotel.
The Funny Bone here in Little Rock, that's still
No, it hadn't been the Looney Bin's
The
still
Looney
open.
Bin, sorry, that was what I was
The
confusing.
Funny
it.
Bone was down in the River Market.
That's right. I've heard of Funny Bones in other cities, I think.
He came to the Funny Bone. He came up here and was on the air with us, and he was doing like a 1 hour stand-up in small comedy clubs.
Yeah.
I drank shots with him the first night, the first time he came to town. He was so much fun to hang out with. And then, like a year later, he gets hooked up with this blue collar comedy tour, and he's on HBO, and
Him
he's on all these
Foxworthy, and all those
but
guys.
I met him in the small comedy club in Little Rock when he was just coming up.
That's the thing, and you got to see that with musicians, you got to see that with comedians, because that was just the times. The comedians were performing in smaller venues. Now comedians perform in football arenas.
Yeah, I know.
You can go see Shane Gillis, who's one of my favorite comedians, and I love him. I wish he would just perform smaller venues that were more affordable, that would be more enjoyable, because like there's no way he's not rolling in money.
Right.
But I can go see him at Jerry World.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When was that? You know, Richard Pryor never reached that height.
Well, he did, but
Did he really?
He did, but
Maybe I'm unaware. I know Eddie Murphy had Raw. That's
Richard
such a huge
Pryor's
venue.
stand-up was in the great big theaters,
okay.
like the indoor theaters.
Like Broadway style theaters.
Yeah, Broadway style theaters, and he was such a polarizing figure.
Oh yeah.
You know, they tried to do a Richard Pryor show, but they had to edit it so heavily. And Richard Pryor is one of my all-time favorite comedians. I quote him on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Off the air.
I was gonna say we can't even get into
But
most of that
I
material.
think that's why he didn't do the big, like the stadium tours, because comedians weren't doing stadium tours back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, he'd do a big stand-up at the Apollo Theater, somewhere like that. But
it's just sad sometimes to look at that generation of comedians and see kind of how it went for them. You know what I mean? Like those guys when I was a kid. I mean, when did Richard die? Was it in the early 2000s?
yes, it was.
So I was a child, a baby. You know what I mean? These were the guys that were dying when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually gone back and watched, this is a sad story, but Dangerfield on The Tonight Show. You may know this clip.
I do.
He was having a stroke.
I do.
And it was not, I think Leno says he alerted somebody, and right after they had the interview, they rushed him to the hospital, and he died a week or so later. And he went, Leno tells such an amazing story where Dangerfield's wife reached out to him because, I forget the term, but you stop moving, and you can just kind of look around.
Yeah.
And that was the phase Dangerfield was at. And the wife was like, if you want to come say goodbye, you know, you should do it now. And so Leno went, and he said that the wife said you can like he had like his hand like this or something like that, and you can put your finger and he can touch you. And Leno put his finger in there, and he said, Dangerfield, that's not my finger. And Dangerfield actually jolted.
Wow.
A little bit. Yeah. He actually laughed.
Wow.
What a cool story that is. That dragged us to a stop.
Well,
but
I was
going
to bring up one more. You asked about the
Please.
90s bands.
Yeah.
The first time Alice in Chains played Little Rock, Man in the Box had just come out.
This was 91.
They had rented a studio space at a studio in the Heights to rehearse for a couple days, and I was managing a band at the time. They rented our monitor rig to practice. We had to drop it off at the studio, and when I went into the office, I got proper introduction to Jerry, Lane, the whole band sitting right there in the office, shook hands with all four. They were not known.
Yeah, they were like 24.
They hadn't had a radio hit yet. You know, Man in the Box had just come out. Nobody was really playing it yet. Nobody knew who they were. Yeah. So I met Alice in Chains going out on their first tour. Back then, we didn't have phones on our cameras, or I would have had a picture. I've got the memory.
Man.
Anyway.
Do you remember what you guys talked about? Do you ever remember stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was that like? You go in, you shake hands with Jerry, and you're like, nice hair, you know?
No, I remember Lane was like pencil thin, looked like an insect.
Yeah.
He was very skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry had a lot of hair.
People need to go back and watch those concerts, though, man.
Yeah.
When they were performing really just the first album.
They were great.
They would perform the whole album, and there are so many hits, you know. I think Love, Hate, Love is one that's on there that is, like, if you watch it live, it's like, it really shows their uniqueness because they came out late 1991. I think it was like October or something when they came out. And so they almost just got I think they just got swept up a little bit in the fact that Nevermind came out that year.
There
10
were so
came
many
out that
great
year.
albums in 1991.
And that was your first year doing radio, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, you know, that's that's a blessing right there.
Well, I know we probably need to wrap this up.
Sure. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on, dude.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it's been informative.
I hope so. I hope the listeners have enjoyed it. I know I had a ton of fun, man.
I did too.
You were seriously one of the first people I thought of. Where can the people find you? Obviously, you're on 94.1.
I'm on
Monday through Friday.
94.1 Monday through Friday, 10 to 3.
25 hours a week of radio, this guy. And this week it's 26, baby.
and I do a Saturday night show. It's live in concert. It's live Saturday night. It's 2 hours of live music from 10 to midnight every Saturday on The Point.
And another reason to tune into The Point, you guys only do like 2 minutes of commercials.
Yeah.
Every like 30 minutes or something like that. So
I mean, we have to pay the bills.
Yeah, they want to act like they don't have any advertising. Come on, man. Their hosts are way more annoying than you guys.
And you can find me out. I go to a lot of club shows. I support local music heavily.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends that play locally, so you might see me at TC's Midtown Grill. You might see me at Four Quarter Bar. You'll definitely see me at the Hall. Just, I'm out quite a bit.
Yeah, get out of your house and you'll find Jeff somewhere.
You got to come out in public, though.
He'll be at the grocery store. He'll be anywhere you find him. He'll be at the dealership.
Some of my best buddies see me at Walmart, of all places. I'll be walking through the store and it's like, hey, Jeff, Walmart again.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, take care. And, God, thank you.
Thank you.